I'm Valerie Schwartz, the city representative from Richmond, Virginia, a fourth grade teacher and the moderator for today's student panel. I'd like to start with the learning target. I can understand and describe the Y&I narrative, and my standards at the bottom. Sorry. I am excited to be here today because I have the opportunity to share the most important part of the Y&I initiative with you, student voice. We all know the narrative so often portrayed in the media about public schools, but in particular, high poverty, high minority school districts. Today, you will hear from 5 students from Hearne, Texas, Chicago, Philadelphia, and Richmond. They will share their experiences with a variety of curriculum units crafted by Y&I fellows. The narrative you are about to hear is the Y&I narrative. So without further ado, I ask Zanetta Kubijak, who you just heard from, to come up and introduce her student. Zanetta?
I would like to introduce a young lady who is super duper 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 amazing. She is one of my 6th graders at our school, Owen Scholastic Academy. She is also recently our Student of the Month, and she wrote an essay that was so inspiring about the reasons why we need freedom dreaming that I was like, I want to recommend you to come here because that's how powerful you are, and we all deserve to feel and see your power. So, without further ado, my girl is a shy girl, but she's a super duper fly girl. Please give it up for Miss Rihanna Aminu.
Good morning. My name is Rihanna Aminu, and I currently attend Owen Scholastic Academy on the south side of Chicago, where I'm a 6th grade student. I am so excited to be here this morning at Yale University to share with you about freedom dreaming, which was the topic my class studied with one of our favorite teachers, Ms. Kubijak, and was created through her fellowship with the Yale National Initiative. This unit on freedom dreaming had a profound impact on me as a student and as a human being. It presented a unique challenge to me how to be aware of what is happening in the world without losing hope. It challenged me to question what is happening around me and to answer the question with one of the most powerful weapons in my arsenal, my imagination. Freedom dreaming is imagining a future where everyone is treated equally and feels safe. It's a vision of a world where no one has to worry about being harmed or harassed simply for their identity. In today's society, many people, especially those in marginalized communities, live in fear because they might face violence and or discrimination. Freedom dreaming is also a world without fear. I dream of a future where people can walk down the street without looking over their shoulders and express themselves freely without fearing harassment. I imagine a neighborhood where everyone feels comfortable and accepted, regardless of their background or identity. This vision of safety and acceptance is at the heart of my idea of freedom dreaming. I will tell you more about my vision, but first I want to explain the 3 most important elements we learned about freedom dreaming in class. First, ask questions. What is happening in your daily life, and what could it look like if things change for the better? Second, seek connections. Consider how you can contribute to what has already been done and what others are currently doing. Finally, take action. Bring your vision to life. Create steps to act on change you imagined. My freedom dream could happen in real life if we take the steps to change it. Every day I face things, whether it's doing math, which I don't like or am good at, or being called names. My freedom dream involves building a place where people can work and learn together without the fear and anxiety of being judged by others. It also involves being truthful with yourself and with others. Truth was one of the most important parts of our project, which we will further explore. At the start of this unit, we learned about the Florida State Standards for Middle School Social Studies, which, by the way, did you know that teachers have to follow a standard that states, and I quote, Instruction includes how slaves develop skills which in some instances can be applied for their personal benefit. My classmates and I were disappointed to find out that students are being taught that slavery was beneficial for enslaved people. I mean, they're really trying to teach students like me that slavery was good. I can't imagine being instructed that there were good parts of slavery, and I'm thankful that I don't have to. Ms. Kubijak asked us a question that sparked what she called critical imagination in my class. What could we, as middle school students from Chicago, do about this? We began to visualize how we could inspire change, and our imagination quickly became action. My sixth grade class is currently planning a rally to bring awareness to this injustice with the hope that our petition will influence their Board of Education to change the standards. We got to act as facilitators too, and began taking the lead in our class. Ms. Kubijak is around if we need her help, but the work that we do is all on us. We have a meeting with our principal next week to submit our proposal to ask her for her approval to bring this rally to life. So wish us luck. This unit stands out from the other social studies lessons that we have. When we first started this unit, we thought it was going to be about the injustice in Florida schools and about slavery, but it was so much more. Before we even knew what freedom dreaming was, we were already doing it. Sure, we learn about history, but we never really learn about Black history. We often do different research projects and study ancient societies, but we rarely dig deeper into slavery and how it affected Black people, how it affected anyone who existed in that system. Our books talk about it, but they make it seem like it wasn't as bad as it was. This unit helped us look at history, but still connected with the present. The unit was very interactive, and there was space to share our ideas about what we thought and felt without worrying about censoring ourselves. Often in other classes, we get shut down before we start to debate different ideas, but in this unit, we were able to disagree and be passionate about it. And believe me, like she said, my class is passionate about everything. I also appreciated the relevance of this unit. We're learning about what is happening right now while still using our knowledge about what happened in the past to guide us today. As Ms. Kubijak often says, everything is connected. This unit helped me grow as a student and as a member of our society. I was introduced to so many new things that I never would have considered. It sparked my interest in researching more about government and social movements. Thank you to everyone at the Yale National Initiative. I really appreciate this program, and I'm glad that my teacher was able to be a part of it and that she was able to bring me along for the journey. And so now, in conclusion, I'd like to leave you with a question that Ms. Kubijak once asked me. How would you change the world for the better? And
And this summer, I participated in Energy, Past, Present, and Future with Professor and Seminar Leader Gary Breivik. I developed a curriculum unit titled Virginia's Energy, the Past, Present, and Future Will Blow You Away for my fourth graders. The curriculum unit is interdisciplinary and connects Virginia studies and science by looking at how Virginia uses its geography and natural resources to harness energy. It focuses on wind energy and the huge project taking place off the Virginia coast. I am fortunate and honored to have one of my students here today to represent our class, room 205. Sasha Alexashin moved to the United States in September 2022 from Kiev, Ukraine, with his mom and older brother. I'll say Kirill because I taught him too, and he's a part of this. In Sasha's words, he knew about 20 words of English when he came to Richmond. Now, Sasha will share his experience with the curriculum unit with you. Sasha?
Good morning. My name is Sasha Alexashin. I'd like to thank my mom for bringing me and allowing me to come. I would also like to thank my teacher for choosing me and for organizing my trip. Thank you to the Yale National Initiative for inviting me to speak, and for you for coming to listen. As you already know, we are working on a project with wind energy. We started talking about how people make energy using their natural resources. Virginia started making energy with coal. Long ago, they got most of their resources from the Richmond coal field, which was also the first one in the United States. Today, Virginia uses nuclear energy and hydroelectric energy. Virginia is really good for offshore wind energy. Virginia has excellent resources to be the supply and chain hub for the wind energy project along the whole East Coast. That is why we focus on learning about wind energy. One of the first activities we did with wind was making sail cars. Each group designed the sail with the same material. We trimmed the rectangular material into different sized sails. Then, we attached the sail that was glued to the car. Then, we went to the auditorium and used a fan to make wind. The car with the biggest sail won the race 2 times. If the sail was too high, the car flipped over. If they were too low, it didn't move well. Then, we read some passages and books to learn about wind and fossil fuels. A few facts about energy that I learned from the book were that wind energy never runs out, but there isn't always wind. People build wind farms because one turbine won't make enough energy to provide electricity to multiple homes. In the Ukraine and Europe, there are lots of wind farms on land. So, because I saw many wind farms when I was in Ukraine, I had a connection to the unit. After that, we jumped into the main project. We made model windmills, or wind turbines, out of everyday materials. We started off with a box and a large piece of paper. We rolled the paper into a tube, and my teacher taped it with duct tape to make it stable. Then, she taped it to the box also with duct tape. Next, we made a drawing how we were going to construct the wind turbine. After we had a plan, we could start building. We made blades out of paper plates. Everything was going well. We started working with our motor, but then we had a problem. We attached the blades to the hub, which was a cardboard circle. Then, we put it on the motor, and it wasn't moving. Because we are scientists, we solve problems. We put masking tape on both sides of the hub where the hole was. It worked fine, but then we had another problem. The hub was a little wonky. It was not spinning evenly. Then, we returned to square one, which was making a new plan. We made a new hub and new blades. We made the blades out of a harder material and the hub out of ketchup cups. We covered the ketchup cup with duct tape to make it stronger. We put the blades aside and worked on stabilizing the pole. Our teacher showed us some ways that turbines are made more stable. We looked at our resources and made a plan. Our group chose to make theirs stronger by taking dowels and hot gluing paper triangles on both sides of the hub where the hole was. Other groups made theirs more stable by taking paper cups and making a hole in the middle and putting the pole in the hole. Our plan with the turbine is to first make the blades spin with a battery and a motor. But our goal is to reverse everything and let the blades spin the battery and create electricity to light an LED. But the blades didn't spin fast enough, so we had to go back to square one again. This time, our teacher brought in already designed turbine blades from Amazon. We noticed that the blades were spinning clockwise and were attached to the motor stick. They were also really short, curved, and light. After that, we designed new blades that were shorter and lighter than the last ones. My group made them out of handles of plastic spoons. We made the hub out of the bottom of a plastic cup. When we tested it, it spun clockwise and extremely fast, but the light would only flicker. Then, we tried it one more time using the bottom of a plastic cup. We cut small blades like the one from Amazon. Then, I bent the blades to a small angle and attached it to a motor. I tested it, and finally, it worked. My group was so excited that my friend Griffin yelled around the classroom, "Let's go!" and pushed me to celebrate. And right now you might be wondering, what about all the ocean life? Well, and to use these special materials to stabilize the wind turbine in the ocean to prevent erosion. Those materials help create artificial coral reefs. So, we added that to the project to show that wind turbines provide home for fish. It's cool to note that the future of offshore wind energy will also help make a brighter future for marine biodiversity. Then, my teachers told us that we were going to make one of the critters move with robotics. I was really excited. She gave us some instructions and gave us an example with colored LEDs. Next, we played with some of the robotics. My group chose to use a servo which moves at different angles. With the servo, we made a fish pop out of its home and back 3 times. This unit taught me and my classmates lots of new things about wind energy. This unit was one of the best units I have ever done in my life because we designed, created, and used electronics to make a working wind turbine. We learned so much about wind energy and how it creates electricity and helps the earth in 2 ways. 1, it doesn't produce carbon dioxide, and 2, it creates new habitats for marine life. This unit was different from any unit I have ever done in my life. I have never worked with reversing motors, which really isn't that complicated. I've never thought of making a functional wind turbine in a marine ecosystem out of simple materials. This was a fun and educational unit. I'm still astonished that my teacher thought of making this. Thank you, and let the future blow you away.
Ooh, Sasha is a tough act to follow. My goodness. Sasha, I gotta move the stool, okay? Good morning. Yale National Fellows, faculty, and distinguished guests. I bring you greetings from the land of opportunity. Founded by Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable, the place where hundreds of thousands of African Americans called home during the Great Black Migration. We are thrilled to claim the greatness of Gwendolyn Brooks, Lorraine Hansberry, Michelle and Barack Obama, Richard Wright, Michael Jordan, and Angel Reese. But my treasured Chicago tradition is Garrett's caramel and cheese popcorn mix, made world-renowned by the Oprah Winfrey. Humbly, my all-time favorite claim to fame are the students I've had the distinct pleasure of teaching throughout my career in Chicago public schools. My 8 siblings and I are also proud products of Chicago public schools. I'm blessed to work in a district that acknowledges the importance of affirming our students' backgrounds and identities through culturally responsive instruction, which makes students feel motivated and more connected in classrooms like ours. CPS has a bold vision of becoming an equitable and responsive district. One portion of this vision is the Curriculum Equity Initiative that ensures that every child in every Chicago neighborhood, including the Washington Park neighborhood where I teach at the Carter School of Excellence, receives a quality education. Curriculum equity starts right here at the Yale National Initiative. The Yale National Initiative has been my professional development lifeline for years, not just because of Yale's prestige, but the quality of professional growth and collegial bonding that occurs on this campus. To have such a treasure in the Beinecke Library and to discover that Langston Hughes bequeathed all of his materials to the Beinecke continues to shake my soul. As the great professor Faisal Muhammad stated, poetry can often be the most intimidating of literary genres for students and teachers alike. His seminar did indeed help me reduce that threshold of intimidation through my unit, Captain Underpants and Poetry Outside the Box, where students learned about the life of Henry Box Brown and engaged in poetry, plays, and readers' theater. The social-emotional learning connection through Captain Underpants helped my students to focus on the values of friendship, decision-making, overcoming obstacles, and how to manage their emotions. To speak in more detail how our students benefit from high-quality, culturally responsive YNI curriculum, straight out of Carter School of Excellence, representing the class of 2025, I present my super duper shero, Miss Tyasia Hall Gibson.
Good morning and hello to everyone at Yale National Institute. I am so honored to be here today. Mrs. Pondica selected anybody in my 8th grade class graduating of 2025, and she chose me. I, of course, promised not to let her down. During performance arts class, we were exposed to this unit titled Captain Underpants and Poetry Outside the Box. At first, I thought, what in the rubber doggy poo-poo is going on here? But then something organic happened. We examined how personal qualities influence personal choices and success. One common theme that continued to arise from Captain Underpants with the main characters, George and Harold, was overcoming obstacles, making good choices, and maintaining friendships. You see me standing here now, thinking I may not have experienced any obstacles at such a young age. But let me tell you, I have this thing called social anxiety, and some people blow it off as just being shy, but it's way more serious than that. I fear being judged and criticized, so I usually avoid being around a lot of people, which adds to me battling low self-esteem, which contributes to me having trouble making friends. I was adopted at a very young age, so the idea of my biological parents not wanting me created skepticism and a fear of whenever I consider connecting and bonding with others. We have SEL talking circles in performance arts class where we discuss interesting topics in a mature way. Well, sometimes my classmates act immature. But we give a little of ourselves and then take something from each other. George from Captain Underpants says, your problem isn't that people laugh at you. Your problem is that you can't laugh at yourself. I used to see myself as useless and would beat myself up when I made a mistake. But I'm learning how to laugh to reduce stress and social anxiety. With the support of my mom and opportunities like this at Yale University, I feel like I can do anything. As we're going through this curriculum unit, I was really engaged because I was learning and talking about topics that really interest me on so many levels. I participated in performing a play on Harry Box Brown's life, but first I had to learn more about his life. I can assure you, he was not born in a box. Harry Box Brown was born into slavery in Louisiana County, Virginia in 1815 or 1816. He worked in a Richmond tobacco factory and lived in a rented house with his wife and children. In 1848, his wife and children were sold away to North Carolina. Brown resolved to escape from slavery and enlisted the help of a free black man and a white enslaver who conspired to ship him in a box to Philadelphia. Did you hear me say ship himself in a box? In March 1849, the package was accepted by a leader of the Pennsylvania Anti-Slavery Society. Therefore, learning more about Harry Box Brown makes me appreciate my freedom to learn. I would like to share with you all some images of student engagement activities from Ms. Ponder's performance arts class at Carter School of Excellence. Part 1. Captain Underpants were topics were making good choices, overcoming obstacles, and friendships. Part 2 of this curriculum unit was learning about Harry Box Brown, where we worked on poetry boxes, plays, and poetry comics with poems by Langston Hughes. Finally, I would like to share with you all one of my original poems. Miss Ponder said that you are all cool, so would you all give me some snaps? My poem is titled "Boxes Are Not One Size Fit All" by me. I don't fit in no box with ink spilled like blood on a page. I'll lease my sorrow and my rage. My black girl spirit does not belong in a cage. There is so much going on to express outrage. Social justice to natural disaster, but I know the true master. Harry Box Brown shipped himself to freedom, from Virginia to Philly. Some thought his plan was silly. His family was sold to another plantation. Being adopted, I kinda understood his frustration. As a teenager, I asked what's going on with our nation. From slavery to voting rights, my future deserves to be bright. I'm blessed. No more teaching that's meant to oppress. I must confess that being here is the best. I don't belong in no box. I'm taking advantage of opportunities. I'm free to be me. My ancestors paved the way for me to graduate with at least 2 degrees. Who knows? Maybe you'll be at Yale University.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I need a heart at Texas. Good morning. Can I get a good morning? Good morning. All right. This morning, I'd like for you guys to meet Gregory Williams, a remarkable individual who dedicates himself to excellence. Currently, Greg is a 10th grader at Hearn ISD. He is a gifted and talented student. He also belongs to FCLA. He is a leader in the community. He volunteers often for various projects without regard. He is also the top photographer in our district. He's a regional qualifier, soon to be state winner, and also has recently won Best of Show. He is driven by curiosity. He desires to make a positive impact, showcasing the perfect blend of intellect and leadership and compassion. At this time, I would like to welcome Greg to the podium.
Hello everybody, how everyone doing? My name is Gregory Williams. I am a sophomore at the Hearn ISD that's located in Hearn, Texas. Mr. Keenan has been teaching us about the crossroads of Hearn, Texas and how it affects the oil industry. In 1864, the process of finding water in Texas began. In Corsicana, Texas, in 1894, the town leaders hired a contractor to drill a water well. Instead of water, he found oil. That was the first sighting of oil in Texas. These images were sketched by some of the Hearn ISD students. These images show you all the process of refining oil. By 1890, Hearn's location on rail lines made it crucial for transporting agricultural goods, like cotton and cattle. Even before the oil boom, Hearn was already thriving from freight and passenger traffic on its railways. Oil was soon found elsewhere in Texas with a massive plume, Spindletop in Vermont shooting a whole 10 miles in the air. In 1901, our Hearn Depot was built. It served the Southern Pacific and Missouri Pacific railroads for over 50 years. That made Hearn earn the name Crossroads of Texas. In 1905, Hearn was a key rail junction in Texas, thriving from the late 19th century railroad expansion. Texas railroads had already extended over 8,710 miles of track. In the early 1900s, oil boom boosted Hearn's economy. By 1910, Texas had over 12,900 miles of track, with adding more to support the oil industry. Hearn's railroad transported crude oil, drilling equipment, and fuel growth in the industries, like construction materials and fuel. In 1923, Hearn grew more important due to Texas' expanding oil industry, especially in East Texas. Despite a slowdown in the railroads after World War I, Hearn remained a key transportation hub. Wait, I'm on the wrong slide. Wait, let me go. Okay. These right here are avid mind maps. They are tools that help students organize ideas, making it easier to study and remember information from readings. Our science and English teachers, Mr. Greco and Dr. Williams, co-taught our lesson. Mr. Greco taught about greenhouse gases and time periods where the Earth was hotter than others. Dr. Williams taught us research strategies and what to look for, such as people, places, things, highlighted information in bold print. Ms. Robinson works at high school and elementary. She had the elementary students doing the same assignment as we were. The part two of this, I gotta keep going, sorry. Part two of this was Mr. Keener talking to us about landscape styles. The two that we were learning were picturesque and sublime. Picturesque is visually attractive, especially in an old-fashioned or pretty style. Sublime is a quality of goodness or grandeur that inspires awe and wonder. Both of these aesthetic terms are used to describe landscapes. Okay, here comes the fun part. By the show of hands, I need y'all to raise your hand if you think that number one is picturesque. Thank you. To me, number one is picturesque because of the soft colors of the sunset combined with calm waters and the silhouettes of the trees creates a peaceful scene. Okay, now number two. Do you think it's picturesque? Raise your hand, please. Do you think it's sublime? Raise your hand, please. Thank you. To me, I think that it's picturesque. Because of the glittery heart and the rainbow, it leans to more of an aesthetic appeal. Okay, now let's go to the next one. Now these are going to be labeled pink and blue, okay? So raise your hand if you think that pink is sublime. Raise your hand if you think it's picturesque. Thank you. To me, I say it's picturesque because of the soft pink sky. It contrasts with the darker trees and subtle clouds, giving it a calm and visually appealing scene. Okay, now with the blue one, do you think it's picturesque? Raise your hand, please. Okay. Now, if you think it's sublime, raise your hand. Thank you. Okay, everybody that says sublime is correct. To me, the large dark moon, the night sky that's full of stars, and the birds make almost mysterious scene, and it also makes almost a haunting atmosphere. Dark tones mixed with vastness of the sky gives a sense of awe. This has more emotion than beauty. Okay. He also taught us about plantational scene. Plantational scene is a way of conceptualizing the planetary impacts of the exploitation of natural resources, monoculture expansion, and forcible labor. This painting was painted by Gianna Serna. She's already graduated, but I just wanted to put it in here because it gives a really nice view. But it's called Fighting Spiritual. This painting, inspired by Queen Nzinga, reflects her fierce spirit as a tribal queen who as she has a fierce spirit and she's a war leader. She resisted slavery, and her strength symbolizes the resistance to exploitation, similar to the modern struggles over resource control in the oil industry. Queen Nzinga relates the plantational scene through her fight against Portuguese colonizers who sought to enslave her people and exploit African resources. Her resistance parallels to the exploitation and forced labor central to the plantational scene era. To conclude, I feel like the oil industry is a significant contributor to global warming and climate change. Burning fossil fuels like oil releases greenhouse gases which trap heat and raise global temperatures. This impacts weather patterns, causes extreme weather events, and accelerates environmental change. This includes extreme weather patterns like stronger storms, droughts, and heat waves. So yes, to me, the oil contributions affects global warming, and climate change. That's why my opinion is, but it's really up to the eye of the beholder, which is Mr. Keener's passage. That's what it's called. It's called The Eye of the Beholder. It's a really good one. Y'all should read it. And I will also, these are my resources. I would also like to thank YNI for giving me this opportunity to come here from my little small town in Texas. And I would also like to thank Mr. Keener, Ms. Jenkins, Mr. Marshall, my mom especially, because I feel like even if I wasn't here, she would never got on that plane. But that's all. Thank you.
Test. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. So my name is Tyrese Holloway. I am a now 9th grade and 11th grade English teacher. However, last year I taught 11th and 12th. And for the YNI Summer Institute, I've taken a class on History, Art, Race, and Empire, 1492 and 1865 by Dr. Timothy Behringer. It was an amazing class, had a great time. And the reason why I took this class in order to bring it into the classroom was because back in my 10th grade year, I had a really impactful English teacher named Mr. Beluccio who introduced art into his classroom. And it was the first time I've ever seen or been introduced to art in any type of way. It wasn't until college that I had a greater, deeper appreciation for it. So just feeling and thinking about the unit that I've taught last year, I did it during the second marking period, so many holidays in between. But I really want to thank Shaquaya Henry and my English 3 honors class for sticking it through and doing the absolute best with this curriculum unit. Shaquaya Henry, my student from Overbrook High School, just did an amazing job during this project. I can't thank her enough, especially going through what we had gone through this year with her busy schedule. The girls volleyball team went undefeated. She was still able to, come together and make this happen. So to this podium, I would like to invite Shaquaya Henry.
Hello, distinguished guests. My name is Shaquaya Henry, and I'm happy to share my presentation on race and racialization. Now, imagine a world where Othello's skin isn't just a color. It's a shadow that follows him everywhere, a mark that separates him from the world he fights to belong to. He's a celebrated general, but behind every smile, a whisper, every handshake, a question. His love for Desdemona is pure, but it's wrapped in a layer of doubt. Will she ever see him as anything more than the Moor, the outsider, the other? Now picture that shadow stretching in today's society. Othello, not just as a Moor, but he is still perceived as a Muslim man in a Christian society that still fears what they do not understand. His very existence provokes suspicion, and the subtle violence of a raised eyebrow or unspoken stereotype cuts deeper than any sword. In every airport, in every street corner, his presence feels marked by a history of prejudice that he cannot shake off. I care about this unit because I have a lot of friends and classmates who are Muslim, and I'm invested in protecting my friends who will have to survive Philadelphia, especially now. Philadelphia is known informally as a Black Mecca, where over 200,000 people are Muslim and about 20% of public school students are Muslim. While there are not many cases of Islamophobia that happens in our school, I believe that everyone has the right to call out discrimination wherever it happens, no matter who it is targeted to. To start off the curriculum unit, we explored Amy Zergaard's article. None of my students remember 9/11. Amy Zergaard wrote about her experiences teaching about September 11 through the years, from a class who experienced this tragedy and a class who was very unfamiliar with it. The professor's approach to teaching 9/11 evolved significantly, fostering personal growth and helping change students' perspectives. At UCLA, students share personal griefs and experiences, seeking comfort in each other's presence. The professor emphasized that learning is a community act. At Stanford, where some students view 9/11 as ancient history, the professor used raw footage to make an event visceral and immediate, sparking deeper discussions. By using detailed reports like the infamous August 6, 2001 President's Daily Brief as a Rorschach test, students explored the unfortunate reality about how information distorted in governmental systems can fail to respond. This emotionally engaged teaching style made the learning environment more meaningful and impactful. This curriculum unit is different from other topics that we learned because our teacher used art to make sure that students were able to build connections with each other. This first piece of art that we encountered was The Miracle of the Relic, by Vittorio Carpaccio. The question asks, how does the visual language of the painting highlight the people who are respectable or of high status in Venetian society? Which people look out of place or could be considered outsiders? What is the main element that creates community in this painting? And what do you think is the main element that creates community in the city of Philadelphia? My answer to this being, the visual language of the painting highlights people of higher status by using elevated positions and strategic placing. Those on the balconies represent wealth and power, while those participating in everyday activities such as gondoliers, merchants, commoners represents, those who are less important. Those peripheral beings blend more into the busy urban scenery. Ones who look out of place could be those wearing simpler clothing, which could signify foreigners or lower than commoners. In this painting, the main element that creates community is the liturgy itself. The public events that bring together diverse social classes with the same religious identity, which highlights the main element that creates community in the city of Philadelphia. Different folks come from different communities for social events, gatherings, and giving space for these diverse groups to participate as one. After analyzing this painting, there were still some stones left unturned. What is the function of the people crossing the bridge in the back? And what is the relationship between the clergy and the beings on the balcony? When we got to Act 2, Scene 2, we explored The Return of Othello by Thomas Stothard. This question asks, how would you describe the atmosphere of the painting, and how does it communicate who has power in the painting? Look at the body language of the people in the painting. Who do you think has status, and who do you think is disempowered? Why? And what does this painting communicate about the values of Venetian society? In the painting, the atmosphere is very formal and emphasized by the usage of color, which contrasts and emphasizes status. The one in glint armor communicates strength, while the softer toned woman represents innocence. The armored man holding authority through commanding posture and others positioned obediently around him. The darker peripheral colors show that those of lower status, while the shady figure on the right hints an outsider's influence. This painting communicates the value of hierarchy and tension between visible authority and unseen power in Venice. Inspired by the art we saw, a lot of us wanted to try a rough draft of some art ourselves. As evidence here, this is in Act 2, Scene 3, when Othello got into a fight with Montano through Iago's instigation. So I'm just gonna let you guys look at this for a little bit, but this is what a few of us did, and yeah. Truth of the matter is, as much as we learned from the unit, we hated it. Okay? It was very tedious. In between the readings and classwork assignments, we had to do literature reviews on the college articles and take Cornell notes. And Cornell notes, in my eyes, are very annoying, okay? I'm glad we could all agree. And honestly, Mr. Holloway, he also got frustrated with us. And he had to reset the class to make sure that we saw the unit through. So this chart is what we use, and with it's a little bit of humor. These pans mean we were cooked out of time, And these right here, I'm just gonna show you right here, these foods, the breakfast and the fruits, the market period ended right there. So we were like, what in the world? So all these times we were cooked out of time, so we had much little, but, we had to make the most of it, you know what I mean? Eventually, we were able to pick it up through the altarpiece of St. James from the Chapelle of Alcazar from Segovia. This question was, who are the victims in this painting? Who are the victors in the painting? And what do you think is the purpose of this masterpiece? I felt as though the victors were those sitting of higher status, being crowned by angels, and those lesser, or the losers, you say in terms, were those who were pleading, begging, looking desperate, and in like a whole rap of chaos. And honestly, that's how I feel if I miss my train to get here, okay? So I think the purpose of this altarpiece, in my eyes, it was you write your own path. Are you here or here? I feel like it was a warning, but a message, not just of terror, but also letting me know that heaven is real in my eyes. letting me know that I choose my path and where I want to be. So, I decided to make art of my own, and this is based on Othello, and here it is. So this is my diptych. I'm going to come out front so everybody can see. Do a quick. So first, one side is race, and one side is religion. We're going to go over the race first. So in this diptych, as you can see, this is Othello. Othello was called a Moor, the outsider, a black ram, which these horns on his head signify, a black ram. This mask, being a Venetian mask, is cracked because at the end of the day, no matter how of a respected general he is, behind every handshake is a question, a murmur. Every time he turns a corner, there's a whisper. He is never fully accepted, no matter how respected he may seem. This is Desdemona. As I said, their relationship was full of doubt and untrust, not with no trust. So that's exactly what these bruises show. And then the back is just the Moor, ram, and things that he recalled in like the art graffiti. So although he's standing tall in the position of a general, it's still in the back of his mind. This piece is on religion. Now, as I said, Othello was a Muslim who converted to Christianity. So, of course, in those times, he's still probably perceived as Muslim. You know what I mean? No matter what. So this right here is some Muslim figures in the back, cloaked figures in the back. And this is a Muslim Islamic architecture and Islamic stars and stuff like that, and symbols in the back. So this is symbolizing what he was, and that he kind of still holds on to it, while there's a cracked cross right here, because at the end of the day, he's never fully accepted as a Christian. So, according to my understanding of the unit, representation was a major takeaway. I probed further into power, racism, and religion, just like I did when I read The Mysterious Anxieties of Them and Us by Ben Okri. In English class my senior year, creating a diptych based on this topic has given me the opportunity to reflect on historical and contemporary depictions of oppressed populations. Other key learning point was that through this understanding of myself, I learned to have empathy for others. I reflected on times when I may have felt targeted, and it caused me to think about the way students who do not speak English in my school. High school can be an environment where everyone has their own cliques and automatically judges you based on your appearance, the way you talk, the way you walk, the way you stand up. I'm happy to attend a high school where such behavior is not tolerated. Overbrook promotes empathy, and understanding for other people regardless of their backgrounds and differences. Finally, this lesson underlined the necessity of teaching children about the difference and diversity, especially in the society that we live in today. Understanding Othello in our times means recognizing that these ancient divisions are pristine. The fears that destroyed Othello still haunt our institutions, policies, and our even daily interactions. It's about realizing that the world Othello fought to belong in is the same world people today fight for the struggle of acceptance, respect, and humanity. It's a mirror both to Shakespeare's time and to our own, where the faces of Islamophobia stare back at us, demanding that we see not just the outside of things in the character of Othello, but the humanity of every person marginalized by their skin, their faith, and their name.